Ryan, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Ryan Bader. I'm a mixed martial arts fighter. I'm an athlete my whole life, and now I'm in a movie, The Smash Machine.
Do you remember the exact moment when you realized, yeah, I can make a living smashing people's faces in?
Yes, I do. It was a buddy was in the UFC and asked for some help while we were just straight wrestlers. We were wrestling at Arizona State, and I went in there and did really, really well with him. And I thought, man, I could potentially do this afterwards. And then after college, I got a real job and realized really didn't want a real job. And so threw my hat in the mixed martial arts game.
What's something fans don't understand about fighting outside the UFC, whether it's business, preparation, or just respect?
I think the mental game. They see us go in there and perform, but they don't know the struggles and the dedication and thinking about something for 3+ months straight. And it all comes down to one night. It's not a basketball season where you get to make it up the next weekend. It could be a year before you fight again. And so the mental capacity it takes you over for 2 to 3 months.
What's the most painful strike you've ever taken in the octagon?
I'd say the most painful strike is I got calf kicked by a big 250-pound dude, and there's nowhere for that swelling to go in a small calf muscle, and so it just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and feels like there's a fire poker in your leg, and then you get kicked again, and it just adds insult after that.
Of all your fights, which opponent hit the hardest? Where you were like, okay, this guy brought a cannon today.
Glover Teixeira, he's just strong overall, and I was actually beating him up pretty good, and he threw an overhand right and caught me really, really good, and that's really the only time I thought, man, that was a hard punch.
How does your mindset shift when you walk from the locker room to the cage?
It's just for the better. All day long, I'm just sitting in my hotel room, trying to get my food in and trying to get it out of my mind, because you go back to default thinking about you're going to fight another trained human being in a cage later on tonight, and you're stressed, you're nervous, you're excited, all different kind of nerves. And then once I warm up and I'm about to walk out to that cage, everything just kind of fades away. I have tunnel vision and I feel the accumulation of all the training, all the work I've done come to that moment, and it's very freeing.
What's the weirdest thing a fan has said to you after a fight?
I mean, I've had countless deals. The weirdest thing, a friend sent me a video when I fought Fedor, who's one of the biggest legends of the sport. I was in there fighting in the cage, and one of his guys is screaming at me in Russian, and he stormed the cage to fight me while I'm fighting his guy. And the security dragged him out literally by his feet, one on each feet, and dragged him out of the whole deal.
How do you balance being a fighter with being a family man?
I try to turn it off. I try to turn, not so the family man side, but when it's time to fight, when it's fight week, I try not to be distracted by the family life. It puts me in a different mindset. But when I come home from the gym, I leave that version of me at the gym, and I don't bring that home, because it can consume a lot of fighters, especially when you're younger. That's all you think about. And while your stock is rising in that, you're thinking about that, other stuff suffers. So I try to just shut it off when I leave the gym.
What's your pre-fight ritual that no one knows about?
For some reason, I pack my hotel room OCD-ish, like spotless. I have everything put away. I clean my hotel room, and maybe that's something where I know everything's in the spot where it needs to be, metaphorically. I've done everything I could do. So for some reason, it's kind of therapeutic for me to go in and just have everything ready, spotless, like I'm leaving right after the fight, even though I'll stay there a couple extra days.
You've won the UFC Total Ultimate Fighter and the Bellator. Which one felt more validating?
So my favorite fight of all time, I was fighting at light heavyweight, which is 205 pounds, and I didn't know if I could fight at heavyweight. I'm a smaller heavyweight. I'm like 230, and I got asked to do a heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. 8 guys, all legends of the sport, all tough, meet in this tournament, go to the finals and they're crowned a winner, and that would be the heavyweight champion. And a guy named Fedor Emelianenko was on the other side, greatest fighter of all time. And I thought, man, it'd be cool if we could fight him. And we made it to the finals, and I walk out there and I end up knocking him out in 35 seconds. It was such a surreal feeling. I had the 205-pound belt already. I won the heavyweight championship. I did it in a Grand Prix style tournament and beat one of the greatest fighters of all time. So that was a definite highlight of my career.
What's something about cutting weight that the average fan just doesn't understand?
Well, people always go like, oh, you were 230 and you were 205. You gotta show me the diet so I can, get skinny, whatever. I mean, I go down and I'm 205 for 1 hour and that's it. And I can get 10 to 11 pounds out of my body of water in about 45 minutes. And then in 24 hours after weigh-ins, I am at least like 25 to 27 pounds heavier.
What's your go-to cheat meal after a big fight?
I love Mexican food. I'm in Arizona, so a good, tacos, some chips and salsa, but really anything with flavor. That whole week in training camp, I eat whole food. It's nothing crazy, but it's bland. And so anything with flavor after it. The only problem is you went through this grueling, crazy thing, fighting another human, and you come out and you do press and all that, or you have a little after party, and there's usually no food. I fight at like 1 a.m. most of the time, and so I never really get to eat that night. So it might be like a slice of pizza or something like that, but when I get back home, it's Mexican food.
Who hits harder, a heavyweight or a light heavyweight?
I would say a heavyweight hits harder, but there's a trade-off. They're not as fast. So a fast 205er that could put a combination together that you don't see, I would say that's probably more brutal than just getting a big overhand from a heavyweight.
If you weren't fighting, what would Ryan Bader be doing right now?
I have no idea. I get restless and antsy, and I'm always looking for new things. I do like to help out. I do a lot of stuff for disabled vets, and I want to say something along those lines.
What's one fight you watched as a fan that made you go, damn, that was a war?
Shogun Rua and Dan Henderson. It was, I know Dan pretty well. Shogun was a guy that I kind of came up watching and big fan of. And when those two went to war, it was everything that we thought it was going to be. And it was a back and forth brawl for 25 minutes. And it was just one of my favorite fights of all time as a spectator.
You've been in this game a long time. What's changed the most since you started?
My mentality, kind of training methods at the beginning. I come from a wrestling background where it's go, 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 go. Are you tired? You go more. And we realize that's not always the best case. And as you get older, recovery is a big part of it. Where as a wrestler, recovery was unheard of. You just went harder. And so kind of changing that and changing your mentality, being smarter about your training, having the right people around you, definitely one of the biggest things that I've changed.
What's your proudest moment in your MMA career, inside or outside the cage?
Inside the cage, I'd probably say my Fedor fight when I became a 2-division champion, beat one of the best, greatest fighters of all time in Fedor, and was holding Grand Prix belt, 205-pound championship, and the heavyweight championship. And outside, it's just, I have a lot of friends that are veterans, and I've raised and helped raise a lot of money for them, and able to be on the ground with them and see change. That's one of the highlights of outside the cage, is being able to help people that need the help.
You're making your acting debut in Smashing Machine. What scared you most about stepping onto a movie set?
It was as scary as walking into a cage to fight. I know that feeling. I know that I'm capable of doing that. On the movie set, I did not know. I've never done it before, and then I'm walking in with two of the biggest stars of all time, Emily Blunt and DJ, and I just had to go back to my kind of fight mode training where I prepared, I walked in there, did everything I could do, and you just got to let it go from there.
When did the acting bug first bite you?
After my first scene, I thought to myself, man, that was fun. Because I felt the emotions of what I feel and what I chase in the fight game. It's scary, it's hard, sometimes unattainable, but you put in the work and you get there, and when you get it done, it's a huge pressure relief and release. And so after that first scene, I felt comfortable, and I couldn't wait to get back in there on set and do it again.
What's one acting habit you picked up from watching Dwayne or Emily?
Watching both of them, their preparation right before they went into their own little world, their own little state, not talking to anybody. And it could be for 15 seconds or it could be longer. And I observed a lot on the set being new and watching their kind of method to get ready, whether it was an emotional scene, a physical scene. I watched them go into their own worlds and kind of visualize what they were about to do.
What was it like watching your scenes back for the first time?
Not fun. I don't like watching myself. Benny Safdie was trying to show my wife and I, on the iPad, and I had to kind of back away, and I didn't even watch it. And so I didn't see a lot of the scenes, dialogue scenes, until I was in a movie theater, and I was extremely nervous. And I'm my biggest critic, so it's never going to be good enough. But I just can't. I do not like watching myself.
If we opened your camera roll right now, what would the last 3 pictures be?
There'd probably be pictures of my media schedule for this LA premiere.
What's your go-to guilty pleasure food?
I don't like candy a lot, but I love chocolate, like, little C's Bordeaux chocolate. That's kind of my go-to.
Worst food you've ever eaten during a weight cut?
Well, I've always been pretty good for a weight cut, but my buddy here cut probably around 30 pounds, and then we went out to go get Italian, which I don't usually go eat Italian anyway because you're eating a bunch of cream and pasta, and he got the spicy chicken Alfredo, and lo and behold, he had a huge stomach ache during the fight and almost cost him his fight.
Last lie you told?
Oh, probably a little white lie to my wife or something. They're hard to keep all in my head.
Most irrational fear?
I hate spiders. Bit by a black widow when I was a kid, so any spider. I'm good with bugs and snakes and everything, but yeah, spiders creep me out.
What's always in your suitcase?
I actually have a little bottle. It's like a water bottle. That's a water filter, and kind of learned that on set when I was in Vancouver. Instead of going to the store and buying gallons of water, good water, I can just get it right out of the tap. I just push it down, and I have clean tap water in there.
Hidden talent that no one knows about?
Hidden talent. I'd say maybe some singing. I'm not good at it, but I'm always singing in the car, annoying my wife, family.
Go-to karaoke song?
Go-to karaoke. I've done In Color by Jamie Johnson.
Early bird or night owl?
I used to be a night owl. I would call myself more of an early bird now.
One assumption you want to set the record straight on?
I think one assumption from like the UFC days, kind of like a low-key, quiet guy, what I can kind of be quite the opposite.
Who's the most famous person in your phone?
I'd go with Dwayne Johnson on that one, for sure.
Most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I mean, I'm always trying to push the limits on adventure and whatnot. There's a million different things. Trying to think here. I have nothing on my head on that one.
One piece of advice to younger you?
Yeah, just stay the course and enjoy the moment. Don't get caught up with the next thing, the next fight. always looking into the future because you'll miss the present.
Do you believe in fate or making your own path?
I believe a little bit of fate is involved, but you have to start that path, and you have to go through those barriers, and you've got to put yourself out of your comfort zone for fate to kind of intersect that.
What was your backup plan if MMA didn't work?
I didn't have one. I have a college degree, and I got into the workforce and realized that it wasn't for me, the 9-to-5 thing, and kind of went all in. And at the beginning, we were offered a small sponsorship to quit our jobs, and I went all in, knowing that there's a means to an end. Like, I'm going to get here, and I never had a backup plan.
Who was your childhood hero?
Childhood hero, I would say, my dad has always been a hero of mine. The way he carries himself, family man. I always looked up to him. And then you go back to, the 80 action movie stars, Rambo, Bruce Willis, and all them. I always looked up to them, just from the movies alone. But yeah, I'd probably say my dad.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
I've received a lot of bad advice in the business world. I try to invest in certain, different companies and whatnot, and I've gotten the rug pulled out from underneath me a few times on those. There's been a couple that I've hit, but you got to inspect what you expect, because you can't rely on other people.
Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice, I want to go back to just, kind of live in the moment. And it was at a time when I was always looking towards the future and kind of letting the in the moments pass by without realizing, like, the good times are right now.
Worst injury you've ever suffered?
I've been pretty fortunate. We were at ASU, the wrestling team. There's like a river you can get together and float down. You can drink beers, whatever. We were floating down, and some people got in a fight behind us, and I turned around, and one of the guys was throwing a beer can or a soda can at the other guy, and it hit me right in the eye and broke your eyeball sits in a cone, a little paper thin cone of bone. It shattered that whole thing. So I have a titanium plate basically holding my eyeball.
Who's the biggest inspiration in your life right now?
Biggest inspiration, it's just my family, my parents. They're still together. When I was in my wrestling days, we would grew up in Reno, Nevada. They would take me to all over California every weekend so I can go and wrestle better competition. And I've always looked up to them, their relationship, and so I'd say them.
What's one thing you want people to know about you?
I think nowadays, you could pretty much know, most about somebody from their social media, this and that, and I kind of put myself out there. So I don't think I have much that people don't know.
If someone made a biopic about you, who plays you?
Ooh. That's a tough one. Can we go with a handsome guy? Hemingway? Is it Hemingway? Hemsworth? Thor, maybe? Thor. Chris, yeah, we'll go with him.
In 5 years, where do you see your career?
I had fun on this movie set, and I hope some more opportunities come about. It's one of those deals where, I'm transitioning out of the fighting. I'm getting old for fighting, but I want to have that feeling of something's coming up. There's a goal ahead of me, and it's up to you to put in the work to attain that and do well in that. And so I really loved being on the Smash Machine and being on set, because I have those feelings I've been chasing my whole life with fighting and athletics.
What scares you most about this new acting journey?
The unknowns. I came in, I had basically a couple weeks notice, and I was in Vancouver, and I still don't know much about it. I just showed up and went where they told me and did what they told me. And so I had an amazing, writer, director, Benny Safdie, who kind of took me under his wing, kind of showed me the way and how it works and all that. So I would say working with some other people, because I was so fortunate enough to work with Safdie from the beginning.
What excites you the most?
Excitement. I'm always looking for something new. I get bored easily, so anything new, and I get a thrill out of it. A lot of the wrestlers and fighters we're all kind of like that. We're always chasing that next adrenaline spike, basically.
Best compliment you've ever gotten from a fan?
Best compliment is kind of outside of the cage. They hey, we admire you as like a father and a family man, and the way you carry yourself, and that means a lot.
What's your dream role to play?
My dream role, I think it goes back to kind of every boy's, dream of being in a movie, being in a big, military action movie. For me would be something I would definitely go all in for. Have a lot of buddies in special operations and hearing their stories, what they went through, and it'd be fun to try to do them justice.
What do you want the viewers to know?
Yeah, I'm just out there having fun, chasing my dreams, and everything is attainable. I went from wrestling in college, like, hey, that MMA, that UFC stuff looks cool. How do I start the process of maybe getting there one day? And I always thought I could, and I went and attained that. And then, different opportunities came and knocking. Smash Machine came about, and I thought, well, let's try it. Let's put ourselves out there. I think that went well. And so you got to go out there and take some risk, and it'll pay off.
What's your rating of the sit?
It's a hot seat right here, but I say 10 out of 10. All right, let's go get some tacos.